Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
It is great to see so many faces this morning. It's been a long time since we've been able to actually smile at each other with not just our eyes. So it's great to see you all, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to share with you all this morning about the significance of you all in my life. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Taylor McGarvey, and I am 11 days, to be exact, from graduating from Ryle High School. And yes, the countdown is on. To celebrate Youth Sunday, I'm going to give a short little message highlighting the importance of children and youth ministries at FUMC and how these ministries have made an impact on my life and faith. I can remember the eagerness to join the youth program that filled me while listening to past seniors giving their Youth Sunday testimonies. I hope I am able to do the same for other young members of our church family today. I also hope that I may be a testimonial to the way God works through FUMC. To start, I wanted to give you a little background on myself outside of the church. I'm a runner, and this past year ran both cross country and track for Ryle, and I'll be running both next year for Transylvania University. I'm a part of many clubs and honor societies at Ryle as well, and I really like to just try to be involved in the communities that I take part of. I've grown up in Union my whole life, and like I said, I'm currently at Ryle, but I went to Ackerman Middle and Urbanbeck Elementary, and I've also been lucky enough to grow up through this church family. I share all these details with you this morning to show the connections of community that influence our very church. I've met so many amazing people through our church events. Sitting in a church service here at FUMC is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but what really makes up our community are the ministries, acts of love, and displays of kindness so many of you here exude. One of the most important things I have learned about church is not only the safety net it provides in your life, but the accountability that it holds when need be. This goes for every single person who calls FUMC their home. This brings back many memories of church picnics, holiday dinners, auctions, Sunday school lessons, Wednesday night life, and the adults that have led these events over the years. I'm going to give you all a glimpse into my youth story through some of the pictures I've accumulated from my time here. I'm going to start with some of the children's ministry events. Up first, I have a picture from Trunk or Treat. This is an event in October where everyone in our community is invited to set up a decorated car trunk and pass out candy. One year, my family entered our minivan into the trunk decoration contest, as you could tell by the spider webs. My sister and dad had designed a plank sticking out of the trunk that had a mechanical spider that he could control to try to scare people. I'm the one in the pirate costume with a huge pink cast on my elbow. Looking back, this trunk doesn't look as miraculous as I remember it being, which makes me laugh because I remember being very disappointed that we did not win Best Car Trunk Decoration. Another annual church event is Breakfast in Bethlehem. Every year, our children's ministry staff puts together this fun brunch event where children can come with their families and make Christmas-related crafts to celebrate Advent. There's also been a great photo opportunity to dress the children in the manger scene. So, here's my sister and I's lovely reenactment of the birth of Jesus. As you can tell, we made a great shepherd and angel duo. Next is a picture, I believe, from a King's Kid choir performance on our stage pre-remodel a while back. You can see me and Rebecca Dickinson, former Pastor Mark Dickinson's daughter, who I grew very close with through church, as well as quite a few young youth and young adult members who still go to our church today. And here are some fantastic shots from a children's outing to the roller rink with many faces you may recognize. Lastly, a picture from a church Florence Freedom outing with my sister and the Dickinson sisters. As you can tell, we had some good times and lots of laughs. As I grew older, I really started to develop that foundation from my time growing up in our children's ministry. I did this by taking the next step and becoming a member of our youth program. I have so many stories from youth group and youth events I could probably write a novel. But don't worry, I won't keep you here all day. The first story I wanted to share was from the first big event I participated in going into my 7th grade year, a mission trip to Athens, Ohio. This trip was a huge step in my personal growth and growth through my faith. I remember being horribly nervous because this was the first time I was leaving for a week without my parents, and I had never even met our new youth pastor, Rachel. Here's a picture from outside of our home mission base for that week. As you can see, there's a group of about 20 of us, and I'm the one in the front row with the blue shirt and pink shoes. And this trip was a whole new experience for me, both functionally and spiritually. For example, I really learned the definition of service and that small acts of kindness can make a huge impact on someone's life. But I also learned what it's like sharing one bathroom with middle school boys and about 20 people for a week. This may sound like an exaggeration, but this bathroom put us in a lot of situations that week. Like when you went to the bathroom, you had to slide the panel on the front of the door from girls to guys, which was a very new experience for me. Or when a few of the middle school boys decided they would dress up Willie Henry, one of our chaperones, in a gorilla costume, and put him in the bathroom stall to scare the next person to come in. Don't worry, no one was scared. The plan was not greatly executed. But it did result in the discovery of Willie sitting at the kitchen counter in a gorilla costume when we woke up that morning. I went into this trip going into my 7th grade year, so I was pretty little, making myself a perfect target for the sympathy of older ladies we were helping to do mission work for. On one occasion, we were sent to the residence of a lady who needed her grass cut. But when the chaperones got out the lawnmowers, I wasn't strong enough to push one. I felt so uncomfortable that I was the only one who couldn't help, but God had other plans. This is when I learned about the connections you can make through mission trips. The lady came out onto her deck, saw me trying to push the lawnmower, and invited me in for grape juice and cookies. And how could I refuse? I got to listen to her story and about how important her religion was to her. This happened on 2 other occasions that trip because the ladies thought the youth program was forcing an elementary schooler to do manual labor. My fellow youth members were definitely not happy that I was getting snack break opportunities. Here are some other pictures from that trip. The one to the left is of me and Rebecca Dickinson when we got put on bathroom cleaning duty at the end of the week. And trust me, if you ever have the opportunity to clean a bathroom used by middle school boys and girls, about 20 of us for a week, run as fast as you can. That trip really signified a start of a new chapter for me in my faith and allowed me to grow in a closer bond with my youth family. This feeling of fellowship is something I would never trade for the world. I also became very active in youth group program the following year, going on events like Winter Blitz and getting confirmed. Looking back, I remember being super eager to get confirmed to my faith, just because then I could say I was. I was so excited to become a member of my church by my choosing. I understood the importance of this commitment I was making, but as I grew older, I realized the weight of this commitment. Now I'm also able to reflect on the overall impact getting confirmed had on my growth as a person and the knowledge and wisdom I gained from that journey forward. Here are 2 pictures from my confirmation Sunday. Robin Hutchison was my mentor, and I'm very lucky that I was able to have that experience with her. It allowed the relationship I have with her to blossom from her being a friendly adult in my church to her being one of the adults in my life I know I can always turn to and rely on. I've been incredibly fortunate that I have someone outside of my family that is such a caring for everyone and everything around her. We used to joke that I would see her more than my own mother because one year she was my teacher, soccer coach, and youth chaperone. This taught me the importance of having people in your life with more wisdom, knowledge, and experience than you to help with any of the trials on the road ahead. Here are some pictures from my middle school years. The first picture is from the old youth sanctuary from a youth Christmas party. And the picture under the waterfall is from the first fall retreat I went on at Lucan and absolutely loved. Going into my high school years, the feeling of trying to fit in definitely started to take over my conscience. This caused me to place my religion on the back burner as I wasn't really myself. I think this is an issue many teenagers deal with at some point growing up, the question of their identity. It has also been something I think is easy to be ashamed of because of the burden worldly expectations can have. This can cause a sort of taboo when talking with your youth family about what you're going through, when in reality, they are the most supportive and non-judgmental group around. My overall mood shifted because I was no longer placing my purpose in God, causing me to become more selfish and impatient. Thankfully, the summer going into my sophomore year, reality hit right after a mission trip I went on. This was the first real-life experience that changed my perspective dramatically and truly highlighted the safety net of community that a church holds. Early during the summer after my freshman year, I went on a mission trip with the high school youth group. I've been fortunate enough to go on 5 mission trips with our youth group, each one completely different than the last. But not one has changed my life to the capacity this particular trip had. This trip gave me the opportunity to take down the mask I was putting up to fit in at school. It was also bittersweet because we just found out that Dickinson would be moving to Bowling Green. meaning one of my best friends growing up would no longer be present in every activity with our youth family. This trip was also different because our youth pastor, Rachel, was unable to go. That week, we worked with Motown Mission, a mission based out of Metropolitan UMC in Detroit. Here's a picture of the church that was built in 1885 that we stayed at. It was absolutely gorgeous. I was shocked because we stayed in a part of the church that had almost 5 floors, when I was used to our church only having 2. This was obviously a much different experience than staying in a church like our own, and we received a tour of the church where we got to see the chapel, different floors that consisted of Sunday school rooms, a gym, kitchen, outreach locations, a preschool, a lodging floor, and a creepy upper level that had a really small staircase that we suspected to be haunted. Overall, the location was a really great experience. That trip, Motown Mission volunteers spent a lot of time educating us on topics that I am very grateful to have learned about. These topics included gentrification, social injustice, and the impact of these issues on cities like Detroit. That week, we worked in community gardens, did landscaping, and served lunch at a soup kitchen. Here's a picture when Rebecca and I saw Canada from Michigan. We were very excited to be that close to a different country. And the other picture is from a community garden we spent a lot of time in that week. This trip really opened my eyes to the prejudices people have against those who are homeless or unable to support themselves, which was very disturbing. I learned the way that society is shaped to treat others of different backgrounds. At the soup kitchen, we met a man they called Papa Smurf. Papa Smurf was an older gentleman you could tell had been through a lot in his life. Papa Smurf spent his time helping and running the soup kitchen. My mind was blown by the selflessness I saw within this man, especially as I learned that he was among the homeless that frequented this shelter. As we headed back to our van, he handed us all little stuffed hearts he had sewn by hand and smelled like lavender. Every time I think of this story, I'm in awe because it's truly amazing how acts like these can make you realize how much of a greedy and selfish world we live in, as well as how many selfish tendencies we ourselves may have. It's trips like these where you learn to reflect upon yourself, God, and society. But at the end of the week, you pack up all your stuff, get in the church van, and head back to your normal. I've learned about the struggle of others, but at the end of the day, it makes me question whether or not we may have done any long-term good in the location we served. This has been a topic that has broken my heart over the past year. I've heard a lot of talk on social media and other platforms about mission trips being counterintuitive. And I truly believe there's a difference in a way a church can go about a mission trip and spread love. I also truly believe that our church is great at finding ways where we do not travel to other locations to push Christianity on others, other cultures, or watch other areas as part of a social experiment. Just as John Wesley once said, the church changes the world not by making converts, but by making disciples. Every mission trip I've been on has been solely based on the service to others and the tithing of our time to serve, especially by showing the love of Christ through our actions. The jobs we do on these trips are small: painting, gardening, weeding, mowing, building small structures, and more. These trips have been instrumental in shaping our youth program and providing us the opportunity to grow as Christians and as humans, all while learning to love on others. I'll be forever grateful for these trips and the difference they have made in my life and perspective. So yes, we may head back home at the end of the week, and we may not be an ever-flowing puzzle of God's work in these locations, but we provide a piece to this puzzle to help others build off of. So, here's a thank you to everyone: volunteers, donors, those of you who pray for these trips, and of course our youth pastors. I've traveled to Louisville, Kokomo, Indiana, Detroit, Michigan, rural Appalachia in North Carolina, and Athens, Ohio. And I truly cannot express the gratitude I have for everyone in this church community for supporting us and allowing us to go on these trips. The differences made within these communities we visit and the shaping of our hearts on these trips are all thanks to you. After the trip to Detroit, I had a falling out with almost all of my friends at school, and my friend Rebecca from church had just moved. I specifically remember spending those summer afternoons weeding in the garden, picking weeds, and mulching up here at church. I remember the importance found from my youth family that summer. I also learned that although everything in our life will be ever-changing, our faith can be one of the things we remain steadfast in and hold on to if we allow it to be. I will never forget the love and grace that I was shown that summer. Now is a great time as ever to point out the importance of change in our lives. Over the past couple of years, our church has seen a lot of change, through pastors, members, to even the looks of our worship space. which has truly prepared me for the change in my later high school years. I also learned many things about identity through our church family and how to find my identity through my faith. This taught me that my connection with God should be purely through Him, not through certain people or places. Another example of change is one of the most obvious and impactful in our lives right now, just simply the past year. Over the past year, I've come to the age where I have become more aware of the things that are going on outside of my little world. It's been very thought-provoking to see the pain, intolerance, and unrest not only in our nation, but the whole world. Spending most of my junior year in high school in a quarantine gave me a lot of time to reflect. Through this reflection, I was able to learn the definition of what it truly means to be a Christian, and I am forever grateful for the solid foundation I have as I transfer into the next stage of my life, discovering who I want to be. Just in case you're curious, I wanted to share my plans for next year. Next year, I will be attending Transylvania University on majoring in biochemistry and on their pre-med track. I'm also very excited to take some religion classes and theology classes over the next 4 years. And like I mentioned earlier, I'll be running cross-country and track for Transy as well. I'm very excited to find a place to worship in Lexington in the fall, all thanks to the discernment of knowing who I stand for and what I believe. I just want to say thank you to everyone listening to me here this morning, and I hope many of you are able to see parts of your past, present, and future through my stories. I hope you are able to see the connections within our church family, as well as the impact of church family through not only my life, but also your own. To close, I wanted to share another group of pictures from my time here. They include some of the most amazing people I've ever met through FUMC. If you have any questions about our youth ministry or would like to know more about any of my trips or experiences, please feel free to ask. I love talking about our youth family. Thank you all so much for allowing me to share with you on this Sunday morning, and thank you to everyone who has helped me become the person you see standing here today.